There are a lot of things that you need to know in Stalker 2 that the game just doesn't really tell you. If you have any extra tips that I don't mention here, or anything to add on, like your favorite weapons, how to deal with some of these harder enemies, leave it down in the comments and I'm sure it'll help someone out. You get different scanners over the course of the game that I'm not going to spoil how or what they look like, but the default scanner in the game can be sort of confusing, and finding artifacts in general can be hard at first too. The scanner is simple to use, the game just doesn't really tell you how to use it. It beeps when an anomaly is nearby and beeps faster as you move closer. Only some anomalies contain artifacts though, and if it does contain an artifact, it'll make a slightly different sounding beep and also emit that white light. If you don't see the light, there is no artifact. If you see the light, it'll be accompanied by a deeper sounding beep that goes faster as you get closer, just like the normal anomaly beep does, but the deeper one is getting faster based off how close you are to the artifact. To get the artifact and get it to show itself, you have to get to where the scanner is beeping as rapidly as possible and wait for the artifact to show itself. It's also sort of moving around, like the artifact is here when you can't see it, it's just invisible and sort of like floating in this same general area. To take out your scanner, just make sure it's inserted into the slot there so that you can swap to it, which you can do with the number 7 key, or just hold RB on controller or hold tab to select it from there. Artifacts being in an anomaly is really just RNG. So like at the ribs location is a gravity anomaly. For some of you, there will be an artifact there. For others, there will not. But it seems like saving nearby before you get to that location and reloading until it does pop up will work and let you force an artifact to eventually spawn. At least it seems to work sometimes. Speaking of radiation, if you're sitting around wondering why you're suddenly getting non-stop doses of radiation therapy and your radiation just keeps adding on no matter what you do, there's a good chance you just have too many relics with negative radiation effects. These do not give you resistance to radiation and instead give you radiation. So once you have too many on, you're just going to start getting smacked with radiation, and by just unequipping one or all of them will likely fix it. So yeah, if you didn't know, you can equip artifacts for different buffs, but you really only want to temporarily put these on whenever you need that buff, at least the ones that have negative radiation effects. Also, you can bypass the radiation that comes out of an artifact by making sure it's in the leftmost slot in your inventory, which puts it inside of a case so that the radiation doesn't leak. There are a couple of ways to increase your weight limit for the amount of weight that you can carry before becoming over-encumbered. Specific artifacts like the one called Stone Blood can increase your carry limit. This can be handy to just carry around in your backpack, and once you're over-encumbered, just smack it on and it'll give you a slight amount of radiation, but will also buff your weight capacity. You can get Stone Blood from those gravitational anomalies, like I found one here. That same one that I just went over at Ribs. You can do a similar thing with the consumable called Hercules. Pop that bad boy, and now you have 300 seconds or 5 whole minutes where you can carry an extra 20 kilograms. Weapons and armor both take up a good portion of your weight, and both of those can typically be upgraded to weigh less, as well as certain armor upgrades giving you an increase to carry capacity. Plus, some armor in the game just lets you hold more weight. Bloodsuckers have undergone a serious buff in this game, where in the first game they were still terrifying and hard enemies to take out, but holy crap man, their health and armor now are just insane. Luckily, there are a couple tricks that you can use to deal with them.
Oh my god.
There's usually an anomaly nearby, especially if it's story related, so if there is one, just bait them into it. It can be sort of hard to do sometimes, but it has worked for me once before. Enemy spawns are also RNG, so I've had luck just reloading a save and coming back to no Bloodsucker, and instead like the enemy will be dogs or something, but that's only if they're a random spawn in the world and the Bloodsucker isn't tied to like a mission. Plus I think some locations just specifically have a Bloodsucker lurking there. You can also typically just run completely past them. I've done this for like 2 different story related Bloodsuckers because there was just no credible way to kill them at the time. But I also do it for just any Bloodsucker I really see now, unless for some reason I just really can't escape. Because I mean, even when you have Bloodsuckers down pat, you know how to kill them easily, it is a huge waste of ammo, and then you're still going to get hit once in a while, so you're going through medkits too. There's also a mod that nerfs the Bloodsuckers and the Poltergeists to have a quarter of their default health. I really think this is what needs to be implemented in the next update, because these guys are just insane, man. Also for Bloodsuckers, the best thing you can do is stagger them, and the easiest way to do that, especially early game, is a nice clean shotgun blast. The AK is also a good weapon to use, but this shotgun can be found early on in the game in the poppy field in the attic of a small house. It'll be inside of a chest up the ladder. And also with Bloodsuckers, you don't want to sit still and wait. You want to keep moving around, kind of strafe, by just doing short sprints and try to sidestep over before they reach you during their charge. And they have like an invisibility cloak, but you can still see them, or at least the blur of them, so that you can try to keep an eye out for them. They can miss their attacks pretty easily, and then it gives you a second to shoot them if you are kind of like side strafing. Or just shoot them while they're charging so that they'll get stunned and retreat, but that's sort of like hit or miss. I think it's really damage dependent on how much it stuns them. Ammo and weapons that deal more penetration or armor piercing damage seem to make a bigger difference, since these guys seem to be armored to the dang core. I've also heard that the knife is surprisingly good to use against Bloodsuckers, but I haven't tested it out too much, and the times that I have, it just wasn't working. I have tested the knife throughout the rest of the game with other enemies though, and yeah, it is surprisingly pretty dang good. But it's better if you use the heavy attack, which is the right click. Both clicks look almost the same, but the right click is a lot stronger. And if you don't know what I mean by like side strafing, if you didn't know, you can't sprint side to side or backwards, but you can sprint going forward diagonally. On keyboard, you would just hold forward plus either the D key to go right or the A key to go left, and then press shift to sprint, and you can sort of sprint out of the way of enemies. Super basic stuff, but it's helped me out every now and then, especially when it comes to Bloodsuckers. There is really no point in fighting mutants unless you have to. They give you nothing. No XP, no drops, nothing. It makes it sort of boring, but at the same time, it gives you an excuse to just run away. They clean you out of all of your ammo just for the satisfaction of saying, wow, that was a real fun bullet sponge fight that I got nothing out of. So yeah, I said it for the Bloodsuckers, but mutants in general, unless you just want to fight, or it's easier to shoot them and you have a lot of ammo, just run away. By the way, if you didn't know, headshots on human enemies are by far the best way to go. Headshots are almost always one shot unless they have a helmet and your weapon doesn't have a whole lot of penetration. But body shots, my god, dude, they eat rounds. These guys got like level 19 body armor on. And that brings me to stealth. You might not even know this because enemies see you extremely easily, and I think it's almost more just being bugged with the stealth because they'll sometimes see you through walls, but you can do stealth takedowns with your knife. Just get close enough and you'll hold the knife differently where you can then use a regular or heavy attack to take them down. If you take out a bolt that you can typically use for anomalies, you can actually use these to lure enemies out to either get them away or do a takedown. You just have to be quick because this isn't like most games where they're like, huh, what was that? Let me turn my back for 3 whole minutes. They're really only distracted for like a couple seconds in here. There's an achievement for taking out all enemies at a camp before the alarm is set off. If you come to this location in garbage next to the Slag heap settlement, there's a camp with just one guy. Just take him out and you'll get the achievement. If you want to know how to fast travel, just look for this crosshair icon on the map. The sad part is, these crosshair icons only lie in large settlements where you then need to go to that crosshair icon to talk to that NPC who you can pay money or coupons to travel to another fast travel location at another settlement. You cannot just willy-nilly pick a spot on the map or open your map and fast travel to that icon. You have to already be at a fast travel location. So it's not as easy as most open world games, and you have to pay money or coupons, which makes fast traveling a lot harder to do early game, and I'm guessing that was intentional. You also don't really unlock fast travel until you progress through the story to where you get out of the lesser zone and into the garbage zone, and then just speak to the guide to unlock fast travel at the Slag heap, the second big settlement that you come to. A good reason to fast travel back to past settlements, or at least something to keep in mind if you do fast travel back somewhere, is that prices at different traders, like upgrade prices for example with technicians, those are cheaper at some technicians than others. It seems to just depend on the upgrade. The personal stash or private box is like a Minecraft ender chest that can be used between all settlements, so you don't need to travel or fast travel all the way to your other private box. Every big settlement has one. Even the Slag heap, the second big settlement that you come to right after you leave that lesser zone and get into garbage, it has a private box. It's just not marked on the map. You can find it right beside the trader named Huron.
We could join the Sultan at the swamps too. And if it gets real bad, we could always sign up with the Mercs.
The only bed that you can sleep in is the one marked at each big settlement, which sometimes lies right next to that private box. If you try to sleep and it tells you that you have ailments, take a look at the lower left hand of the screen, and if it's not radiation, you're probably just hungry. Eat and then you can sleep. But sleeping also just makes you more hungry. How much more hungry just depends on what time you went to sleep, since sleeping always just skips to morning. So if you don't have a lot of food, you might not want to sleep since sleeping doesn't give you any buffs other than skipping past the game's terrifying nighttime that seems to drag on 10 times longer than the daytime. To repair weapons, all you have to do is look for a technician marked with this icon on the map, and this is the first one you will find in Cilicia very early on in the game. Start speaking to him in his little garage, and then at the bottom right hand corner, you get an option to pay him money or coupons to repair your weapons and armor. Repairing weapons is pretty important in this game since you can't even sell heavily damaged weapons once they're in that red nearly broken state or completely broken, and then they also begin to jam much more frequently at that point. A lot of people struggle with equipping attachments and sights as well. There's a couple of different ways and things that prevent you from equipping attachments, but to equip them, you click and hold the T key and click the attachment with the mouse, or on controller, you press up on the directional pad and then move the right analog stick in the direction of the attachment, and then click A on the attachment that you want. You can also just open up your inventory, the shortcut on controller being down on the D-pad, and then click the attachment and equip it. On PC, that's right click. You can also drag and drop it on the weapon or right click the weapon to equip the attachment. But for me, the ability to do this has bugged out. So if it's not letting you equip an attachment, get out of the menu, hold the T key, or up on the controller's D-pad to open up the attachment menu and select it from there. Attachments are also specific to different weapons though, which it lists on that attachment, but you can also just hover over the attachment and it'll highlight the weapon in your inventory that can use it if you have one that attachment can be used on. If you want to equip a sight, they are specific to certain weapons as well, just like attachments, and can get weird bugs where they won't be equipable, at least from the inventory menu, but they sometimes also require a rail to be able to hold a specific sight or optic, just like real life. It needs something to hang on to. The ARs usually already have a rail. I don't think an AK can even get one, which is why the early unique one is so good. You know, that early scoped AK that you get from that side mission located over here on the map is probably the best weapon in the game, at least one of them. It's probably the best early weapon and still maintains like a top spot even late game, largely because it's an AK with a scope. And like the MP5 or the Viper 5 does indeed need a rail to upgrade. And that seems to be the one that a lot of people have issues with. I think it's bugged right now to where you buy that rail upgrade for the Viper 5, it doesn't actually equip it. I don't know, there's something weird going on there. But like you can look at your Viper 5, if it doesn't have a rail, but you purchase the upgrade, then I mean it's bugged. You can upgrade weapons the same way you repair them, which is by speaking to a technician, which you can find at any big settlement marked with the wrench icon. Some upgrades will significantly change the weapon for better or worse. On the upgrade, if it says caliber minus change, it means it's eliminating an ammo type that it can use, which it says in the description for that upgrade what it's getting rid of. Like I accidentally got this upgrade and could no longer use buckshot on my early game shotgun, which significantly changes things since buckshot was like the only ammo I could find early. Also, you want to look at the actual requirement that it says you need, not where the line on the upgrade is leading to. Like some of the lines from upgrade to upgrade that shows like the path that you upgrade through are just straight up leading to the wrong upgrade. Like on the M860 monolith, it says the choke leads to extra barrel rifling, but no, that requires the upgrade underneath the choke upgrade called barrel rifling, which makes sense. Barrel rifling leads to extra barrel rifling, but that changes things since the first barrel rifling also makes it so that you can no longer use buckshot. Like there's just all sorts of weird errors in this game. If you hover over ammo, it highlights the weapon that uses that ammo and vice versa. If you hover over the weapon, it'll highlight the ammo used for that weapon if you have any of the corresponding weapons to that ammo in your inventory. That's something that the original game did not do, or at least I didn't know that it did, since I would just sit there and have to hover over each weapon to see the ammo type, and then hover over each ammo to see if that's the ammo. You can change the ammo types you're using, like from buckshot to slug for example, by clicking the N key or holding tab to open up that weapon wheel and hovering over that weapon, and then clicking the N key. But if you change ammo type during gameplay, you have to manually sit there and reload. But if you do it while holding open the weapon wheel, it does not have to reload at all. It just automatically switches. So you always want to switch ammo types in the weapon wheel, which is holding tab, and I think on controller it's LB, the left bumper. That way it bypasses the entire reload animation. If you want an early game silencer, or actually it's a suppressor for your starting pistol, you can find one here at the boiler house, and you just have to take out the enemies here. There's like 8 of them, 8 or 9 I think, and then you can find it upstairs in a crate. Smack that bad boy on your pistol, easy peasy. If you want a giant early game buff, you might already realize this, since this is the typical video game intro where you lose everything after the prologue, but if you're in the prologue, your goal is to set down 3 scanners to scan for anomalies. Before that third one, you find a building with a safe inside that you can access through the window. You can place all of your gear in there or just simply drop it on the ground so that you can keep all of your weapons and ammo and all that good stuff that you would normally lose when the cutscene plays. You just come back here after the cutscene. You just can't keep the AK or the AR for some reason, so take the ammo from the magazines, that way you at least have some extra rounds. A lot of people seem to not remember or don't know how to turn on the flashlight, which is kind of funny, but you can either hold the left bumper to open up the scroll wheel and then press right on the D-pad as you can see at the bottom right, or just press the right bumper. To open up that menu on PC, just press and hold tab, then the E key, or just click mouse 3, the scroll wheel, or the L key. I was hitting the L key for the longest time to use my flashlight, which feels super awkward since it's on the other side of the keyboard. But yeah, you can just hit mouse 3. If you're exploring enough, ammo really shouldn't be too big of an issue unless you're fighting Bloodsucker after Bloodsucker. Before you sell or leave a weapon on the ground or in someone's inventory, make sure you unload the leftover rounds from its magazine. You can just hold F like it tells you when you're looking at the weapon, or right click it in the inventory menu to unload it and then just pick up the rounds. Do that before trading weapons too. I've accidentally sold weapons I was just using without unloading the magazine, and that's like 30 rounds gone. Looting everyone after a big fight can be pretty tedious too, but to loot as fast as possible and still get good gear, I go around and hold F on the weapons that are laying around to grab the ammo, or pick them up if I'm thinking about keeping them and don't know yet if they're broken or not. I just pick them up, then open the nearby enemies' inventories, right click to unload ammo on any weapons in the guy's inventory, or any weapons that I just picked up, and then throw the broken or unwanted weapons out of both you and the other guy's inventory, and then click the R key to grab all of what's left in their inventory. It'll take everything there. And then just a couple quick tips that I see new players struggle with, like emission storms, which are those crazy storms that turn the sky red. If you hear an NPC announce it or see it coming, you need to immediately head for a building. Not a rundown shack with holes in the roof, but an actual fortified building. Usually the suitable ones are named locations around the map. Also, right when you see one, you should probably make a save. These will slowly begin to destroy whatever weapons and armor are equipped and not in your backpack before it eventually takes you out too. The only thing you can do is just run away and hide until it's over. You will start bleeding in this game constantly. If you get into combat, chances are you'll start bleeding, which is indicated at the bottom left with the 2 red droplets, and you will slowly lose health while you're bleeding. Pretty obvious, but to stop the bleeding, you just need a bandage. You can select the quick items at the bottom of your HUD by opening up your inventory. I think the shortcut to open up your inventory on controller is down on the D-pad. It's either down or up. You can drag and drop bandages or whatever you want in the quick slots there. But for me, I just press Z to use a medkit if I need a lot of health quickly, or hold Z to use a bandage. If you find red broken weapons or near broken out in the world, they are useless other than just taking the ammo from them. They cannot be sold without being repaired, and they're really not worth repairing unless you really love that weapon, like it's a unique weapon for example, or have kept up on maintaining it by repairing it every so often. They are not worth repairing just to sell. You're not going to make any money off of it. But that's pretty much it. Subscribe for more Stalker 2 videos. Leave a like if any of these tips helped. See ya.